enter buttons here. Shall we? Wait for that. Let's go right here and do that, that, and that, and that. Did I hit enter? Hold on. Can't tell if I actually hit enter. I did not. Oh, I see. I forgot to put the A on the... Oh, well. What are you going to do? Hey, you know what? People either going to roll with it or they're not. Arts. Instead of typing art stream on all my Discord posts, I put RT stream. Hey, whatever. You know what? Like I said, people are either going to get it and they'll be fine with it. They're going to know what it is. I mean, I do this stuff often enough. Okay, that's done. So let's go ahead and close that. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's see if it picks up the auto detect. Hi, you saying hello. Whoa. Okay. Normal. I tell you, you know what? There is no such thing as anything just working the way I expect it to. So, I started up Social Stream, right? And it came up with like 80 different YouTube channels. When I'm only streaming from at most 2. I don't even know if I'm going to, well, YouTube. I'm streaming to, I'm only, at most it would be 2 YouTube channels. And somehow it found a whole bunch. I simply do not understand why things that just work or don't work for no good reason. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Everything appears to be running, so let's do a test 1. Is mute on? Mute is on. Let me turn mute off. And let me hit, I have to unplug this. Hold on, I think, is this still connected? Let me see, make sure that it is disconnected. Give me 2 seconds here. Jeez, I can't tell if it is. It's not. Okay, so turn this off. There we go. You probably heard that turn off. That's fine. And now if I hit enter, we should hear something. Oh, in the right channel, or in the right window. There we go. I heard it. And let's do this test. Test 2. And we can see it. Oh, wait. Did I do these both from YouTube? I sure did. Where is the... oh, it's down here. Where is... That's weird. Where... Oh, there it is. Wow, it's just tripling and doubling everything. Wow, how weird. Jeez, why is it... Oh, there's the Twitch one. Jeez, that's really strange. It doesn't matter. I don't really care. Okay, everybody can see everything, so whatever. It's made 7 or 8 different YouTube windows. I really don't know why. I mean, it's posting. Whatever, who cares? Okay, looks like everything is running. I think we're in good shape. So let's go ahead and roll the opening here. And I'm baffled, everybody. I don't know why things happen the way they do. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Hopefully you see a brain in a second. There we go. There's the brain. That's all that really matters, is that you can see the brain here. And we're just going to keep going on this. I'm in the part where I'm half-toning everything, as you can see. So I was going to do shading lines, but I really want to have this have a kind of an older look to it, so I'm doing these half-tone lines, which I'm just going to slowly erase here, as you can see. But yeah, I want to have this look like an older type of thing. So what I need to do, though, is turn off. Yeah, I gotta get rid of this. So let's go. Let's pump this way up. There we go, just so I can see. Well, not that far. I gotta be able to see the edges. So yeah, I decided to do an old style type of thing, which is this half toning, which, you know, it is not really seen much in actual print anymore, but used to be very common with like newsprint and comic books, you know, where they would use dots of color. Now, of course, everything is digitally, you know, very specifically colored. But you would see this a lot where people, where they would use this half toning to do shading. I've always liked it. It's always been a neat look. Actually, I have to look around this week for more half-tone brushes, because the ones that I have, not great. They're okay, but they're definitely not quite as versatile as I want. I want to be able to adjust the dot sizes. And all the ones I have so far appear, except for this one, but this is the built-in Procreate one, so I want to have some more options. I might want to have like squares instead of dots, or just a little bit more flexibility. But all the other ones I've got, all they end up doing is It's difficult to explain, but they don't actually adjust the size of the dots. They adjust the size of the brush radius that the dots are inside. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's as close as I can get to explaining it. I could show you. Actually, I could show you really quick. Okay, so let's say I go to, you can see this, right? Yeah. Let's say I go down to this, maybe. Where are the dots? I'm trying to remember where I had. Okay, here, right? So if I do the adjustment on this, actually, how do I show that more effectively? Yeah, well, see how it's just the dots are the same size. The dots don't change. It's just the circle that contains them that changes, which is just so bizarre. Yeah, see that? Okay. See that? See how the circle is just, the dot's the same. The dot doesn't change size. It's just the brush head. That's so weird. I don't understand what the utility of that is, but you know what? I'm not going to worry about it. These decimals, as they're called, these do adjust in size. But like I said, the problem is they're just the built-in ones. So I want to find some halftone brushes, and I know they're out there. I've been meaning to get some for a while, and I just didn't really keep kind of just forgetting about it. So I really need to look this week because I like this halftone look. And for some things, particularly if you want to make things look older, like an older style to it, these are really useful. So I want to get some better brushes where I can adjust the dot sizes. Like I said, I know they're out there. I've just been slacking on actually getting them. But now that I've actually had a use for these, and I'm going to get them. Because they do kind of give a vintage feel to things. An old style kind of print feel to them. Sort of, I guess you would call it a retro feel, more or less. But like I said, I remember, I'm old enough that I remember reading comics where this type of coloring was used. Just with colors as opposed to just pure black and white, but you would actually see it. So in other words, if I wanted to make, just to give you a picture of it, I'm sure you can already tell what it is, but if I wanted to, say, do shading for, let's say, this color, but much darker, so like a dark pink, because back then you didn't have digital coloring processes, or at least they weren't, not like they are today. So you would do dots to do the shading. So a lot of comics, you would see that. Now, when you zoom out, you don't really see it as much, right? Like at that size, it just looks like a color. But when you were reading the comic, if you kind of put your face up to it, you would see these dots. And that's how they did it. That's how they did the color processes. For some comics, not everything. And for some newspaper stuff, just different media depending on what you were doing. And the interesting part is, a lot of times that wasn't the most precise process. Coloring of comics was generally done, without computer precision like you have now. And so you'll find a lot of old comics where the colors are outside the lines. So there, for example, just to show you visually what I'm talking about. So you would see this in a comic, right? It's not really obvious when you see it on a smaller scale, but then you look closer. Oh wait, that's outside the thing. That's outside the lines because they weren't doing it again with computer precision. And so it's interesting because, like I said, it's an older style of doing things, but I like the look of it. It's just a very simple kind of method of shading things. So like I said, but I do need to, hold on. Okay, that's right. Where I need to get rid of it is down here. So like that goes away. That goes away. Yeah, because I'm coloring that stuff up there, but not this stuff down here. Because there is a line to it. Because there's already dots down here, yes. There's those. And there's... Wait. Oh no, I went too far. I went too far. I just realized that because I was talking, I way overdid it. Hold on, I have to fix this. Okay, well, that happens. Wouldn't be the first time I did that. Jeez, how far back do I have to go here? Hold on, let's see. Oh, okay, I caught there. That's where it was. So basically here, but not above here. Yeah. I got talking and I was not paying attention to what I was doing. But luckily, didn't get that far, so no harm, no foul. It's okay. We're all right. But yeah, definitely an older style of thing that you'll see in a lot of old comics. Hold on a minute. So, okay, yeah, I do want to take it out of this because that's the darker color, which should already have a thing. Yes. So I'll just X out the spaces that I actually do want to take it out of and just double check all of these. And luckily I'm using the mirroring, so I only have to do it on the one side. X that out. Yeah, that's the problem, is I started going up there. That gets X'd and that gets X'd, and I'll double check those. Yes. And then basically everything down here goes. Okay. And everything, not that you can even see that, but we're good. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's all. We're good. Not much to do, actually, for this. So yeah, I like this look. It doesn't work for everything, at least in my case. There are artists I've seen who use it very, very well for just about everything that they do, and it looks great for what they do. For me, it's more of a very specific kind of thing. It's if I'm really trying to echo, I guess is the best word for it, echo the older style kind of shading process, but I don't use it very often. Partially because I don't have good brushes for it, which I should get some, and I will. But also because I just don't think it's not something I want to use all the time. It's something where if I feel like it looks correct with the image, then I want to use it. There's a tendency, and I'm as guilty of this as anybody else, is when you find something that's a neat technique. It's kind of like if you were here for the earlier streams, I was trying to use that tapered pen for everything because I got it to work once, and I was really thrilled about it. But it's not the right fit for everything. And it's the same thing with this. Is, you know, it's for the right image, or for the correct feeling that I'm trying to get, it works. Like if I was doing an illustration for somebody and they said, oh, draw an old Popeye cartoon, let's say, from the, make it look like it was from the 50s. I would probably use something like this for some of the shading, to make it look like it was printed in a newspaper, that type of thing. It would be neat for that. But you don't just want to splash it onto everything because it doesn't necessarily fit everything for me. Like I said, if there are people whose style is centered around the idea of making things look vintage or older, in which case, yeah, you're going to definitely use something like this more because it fits what the general art style is. But that's not really what I do most of the time. So this, because it's, I don't know, when I think of just an image of a brain, it makes me think of old kind of mad scientist films and stuff from the 50s, like black and white, even though this is not a black and white image. And so it makes me think of older kind of, old comics that people would read. And so in that way, it's already got a thing, yes? Yeah, it's already got a thing. That's something I like about it. Okay, so basically, I just need to go to right here and get rid of that, and we'll be good. Let's go to the bigger brush, because now we have a little bit more space. So because this is already all colored in, and we'll double check all that. But yeah, so I'll look around this week for some halftone brushes. Oop, I missed some spots. Let me go with the smaller one. It's easier not to overdo it with the thinner pen, or thinner eraser pen, whatever you want to call it. Wait, just making sure that I didn't just screw up again. I don't think I did. I did not. No, wait. No, did not. So yeah, but I do need a little bit. I haven't bought Procreate brushes in a while anyway, and I just like doing that. It's kind of like fonts. I haven't bought any fonts in a while either. Haven't been any that have really spoken to me in a little bit. Which, don't get me wrong, it's good. If I just impulse bought every font I ever saw, I'd have very little money. So it's good that I have not just, because believe me, I mean, there was one font I was looking at a little while ago, but it was very expensive. And honestly, I really just don't think I would actually use it. So I was able to resist the urge to buy it. But I thought about it. Beautiful font. Just beautiful. But I really just don't know how I would use it. Not how I would use it. How often I would use it. It's one of those things where, for me anyway, I can always justify buying a font because I'll be like, well, I'll use it for something. And I'm sure I would, but, I have quite a collection of fonts at this point. And it's a matter of, it was kind of similar to another one I've got. I just sat there and thought, I already own this other font. Would I really use this in a unique way that justifies spending this amount of money on it? And I could not say yes to that. I really couldn't. And much as, like I said, I love fonts, and I would listen, if I would buy, there's very few font types I don't like. I'm not going to say I've never seen fonts I don't like. I don't particularly care for, I'll be honest, medieval kind of, you know, sword and sorcery fonts with all the flourishes and all that type of thing. I have a few because I've had some things where I wanted to use that type of font specifically to evoke that kind of medieval feeling. But in general, not my thing. You know, the ye old whatever that you would see in kind of a, again, a sword and sorcery movie, Excalibur type stuff. It's not really for me. I'm trying to think of what the most kind of recognizable example of a font usage of that type would be. Oh, what am I missing? I'm missing something really obvious that everybody would know. What would it be? I can't come up with it. I'll think of it. But I'm sure most of you know what I'm talking about, what type of font that is. That's about the only type of font that I don't really like. There's not many versions of those types that I own because I really would just make a very distinct effort not to use it if I didn't have to. Also, you know, I tend to like fonts that you can actually read. There are fonts out there that are so overly designed. And from a technical perspective, it's neat. It's neat to think of how much work somebody put into making a font that does some crazy stuff. But honestly, there has to be some level of readability for me to really want to buy a font. I mean, I get the idea of embellishing something for its own artistic sake, and I can appreciate it. But I don't own a lot of fonts like that. I do have a few, like BT Super 70 and Super 80, which I just really, really like the whole look of those fonts. But those are but I can barely ever use those. Those are more because I was following this Type Foundry for a long time, this designer. And I don't know if it's one person or multiple people, I really don't. And this font was it was always about to come out. And I think I want to say from the first time I saw the font, which was on some kind of design Tumblr, I think. Somebody just put it there. It had to be 5 to 8 years. Pardon me, I was just like choking on air apparently. It had to be 5 to 8 years before that font finally came up for sale, and I bought it as soon as it was because I've been following it for so long. It's not a easily used font because it's very kind of 70s sci-fi looking. So again, it's one of those where very specific deployments for it, but it was such a great looking font. I had followed it for so long that I couldn't not buy it, even though I've probably only used it. I mean, I bought it, I want to say now 3 years ago, maybe. Could be more. And in that time, I may have used it 5 times total. It wasn't expensive either. It wasn't really a ridiculous expense. I think the most expensive font I've ever purchased. There are fonts I've gotten early on from like futurefonts.xyz that now go for hundreds of dollars, but I didn't pay that. I got in because that's like almost like a Kickstarter model for it. But what you're doing is you're funding the font early on when there's only maybe 1 or 2 weights and that type of thing. And you're basically allowing the designer to be able to finish their font. So you get in on the ground floor. It's generally pretty cheap. And then if you were to go back and buy it when it was finished, you would pay a lot more, which I don't think I've ever had one that I backed that hasn't gotten finished. Some take longer than others. That's okay. I mean, like I said, you just have to know what you're doing there. But I think the most I've ever paid for a font, geez, maybe $100? No, it's got to be more than that. Maybe it's closer to 200 now that I think about it. For a font family, a whole set of fonts. But I rarely pay that much for a font. It's a lot of money to pay for a font. Don't get me wrong. It is a get what you pay for thing, but I have so many that, again, I have to, pardon me for yawning, I have to be able to justify it by not having another font that is similar enough that, in other words, I have to have a need for it, and I have to know I'm going to use it. So those two conditions are, I mean, if a font's cheap enough, I'll buy it just to have it. If you're talking about a $15, $20 font, yeah, okay. Those I'll collect because you never know. And that's relatively cheap to purchase a font. So but I'm talking about anything over that, I better be able to think to myself, okay, I'm actually going to use this thing. and not just I want it because I want to add it to my collection. And I don't find that it's not a healthy way to buy things, unless you're made of money, in which case you can buy whatever you want. So people who are made of money will spend lots of money on stupid things. Well, I'm not made of money, therefore I have to be able to... One of the things that really sucks about becoming an adult is having to now start to apply responsibility to things. It's not fun. It's the opposite of fun in many cases, but you have to do it. Actually, am I supposed to be erasing all that? Yeah, I am. I'm supposed to be erasing all this. Wait. Yeah, okay. I see where I lost track because all these dots are so similar and I'm talking. Not that I have to be overly precise, but I don't want to screw anything up. So that layer stays and this gray layer comes out. You know what I should really do? I should deaden the colors that I'm not going to be applying it to, like that. So now anything that is hyper green, I can erase, and anything that's not stays. Now, if I had been smart, I would have been doing that from the beginning. Oh, look at that. I missed a color. Huh. Hold on. Let's fill that in. I missed this one little spot. Let's turn the assist on, because I guarantee... Oh, no, but I need normal brush. Normal brush, please. Normal brush. Normal brush. There we go. It's one good thing about having a neon background. It'll tell you really quick the stuff that you missed. Anyway, back to this. Yes, okay, there we go. So yeah, it's... I do occasionally just go and look at like future fonts and like House Industries. House Industries has some beautiful font work, or beautiful font families, I should say. Oh, geez, I missed more. Look at that. But they're expensive. They're pretty expensive. Like you have to be willing to shell out some money. Not that it's not worth it. I mean, they do, their fonts are great. But, you're going to be laying out some money if you're going to go over to House Industries and license a font. Especially if you're going to use it for anything that's of any major use. Sorry, I have to move my shirt. So, sorry if that's making a lot of noise. Yeah, House Industries. If you've never been to House Industries, go look at it. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful work. In fact, Coop has a font over there, which I have quite a bit of envy for people who can do hand lettering that way. I really can't. I've seen a couple videos. I should watch them on, kind of tricks for hand lettering, because I'd love to be able to hand letter. I have a font that it's not a hand letter. It doesn't look like handwriting or hand lettering. There's a font I've had that I've been working on forever. It will probably, somebody had said, if you've been working on it for more than a few years, you're never going to make it. And they're probably right. Meaning I'll never actually get it done. And that's probably true. But, it's, some of the letter forms are done, not all of them. Some of the letter forms are done. But I don't know how to italicize and all that stuff. There's a lot to it. I could probably just post it as a simplified one type, one weight font, and some people would probably pick it up. I mean, I think it does have some visually interesting elements to it, but I couldn't sell it or anything like that because I would have to do way more to it. But it's one of those things where nobody else has quite made a font like it, so I started designing it myself because I know I would have a use for it if somebody made it. But as far as me making it, nah. Because there's a lot more to it than I think most people appreciate. Making a font is not as simple as just kind of coming up with some funny looking letters. Not even funny looking, some very custom letters and be like, oh, I've made a font. No, there's way more to it than that. Way more to it. Like I said, that Future Font site has really, I think one of the things that I like about it is there's a lot of, the designers are able to post like, okay, here's what I'm doing, here's what I'm adding, here's the next thing. And it gives, I think, people who aren't aware a much better insight into, okay, here's all the stuff you would have to do if you actually wanted to sell your own font. You would have to do this, 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 and this. This is the expectations people would have. If you really want to be considered as making good font, because you can go find fonts that are either free or cheap and they only have the one weight. And that's great if you only need the one thing, but the minute that you need anything past that, you come to appreciate how much more work there is to it. Not that I ever thought it was easy. I didn't. I've always known that to come up with a font is not as simple as I think a lot of people think it is. But the level of things that you have to adjust, change, keep track of, that will be demanded in terms of what people think a font should contain or what types there should be. A lot of stuff. Some people it's like logo design. Not Lego design, logo design. In that the people who are really good at it make it look simple. But if you know anything about what they're doing, it is absolutely not simple. You know, that's why you go around the web and you will very quickly find these different services that are like, oh, we can make a logo for you. And they can, but it's not going to be a very good logo. Almost never. Now, obviously, some people don't need something complex. They literally just need something to put on a business card. And for those people, and this is not me saying those people are making a mistake by not getting something more intricate, but just like anything, if you don't have the need, you don't have the need. For those individuals, something like that'll work. When they just want something that it doesn't have to necessarily be memorable, it just has to be better than a blank space on a business card. Well, then those services will work for you. But there isn't any comparison between those and somebody who is actually doing logo design, who will say, okay, what do you want it to look like? What are the do you have some colors? What's your favorite colors, or what colors do you want it to be represented? Give me some other. I talked about this where I did a logo recently for somebody. Very simple, very simple. I won't even pretend that I'm necessarily somebody who does logo design. But when it was explained to me, when I got the brief and what it was and what they wanted, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do that. That is not something that is so complex I can't handle it. Unfortunately, it turned out very good. And everybody was happy. That's great. But I would certainly never put on a resume logo designer, because I don't know that I can actually do that. It's very similar to, and I've talked about this, but not for a while. I used to really look down on graphic designers. I used to, and I was not the only one. I remember when I was in college, lots of us who were in the illustration program would basically say that anybody who was in graphic design was a failed illustrator, because, we were young and stupid and didn't realize how much work there is in graphic design. Now, as I'm older, and I've really become in some ways more of a graphic designer than I've ever been, I have a much, much deeper appreciation for it. And it is serious work. It really is. And it's like that with logo design. When I was younger, I'd be like, well, how hard is it to make a logo? You gotta just draw a little simple thing that looks that you can tell what it is when it's small. And I think that's what a lot of people think logos are. It's just, okay, or letters. Oh, put a bunch of letters together and they just have to look good on a business card. No, it's definitely more than that. If somebody is actually good at it. Anybody can take your money and give you something of a lesser quality in return. But that's oh wait, am I right? Yes, I am right. That absolutely can be done. And people do it, which I don't like. There are people who just do lazy design, and then they take advantage of the fact that a person doesn't realize, because look, people who are not creative, don't have creative minds, or at least don't have visually creative minds, they won't necessarily understand if they're being taken advantage of. It doesn't make them stupid or anything. It just means they don't know. So if somebody really has no clue on how to make a logo, and I were to go to this person and say, yeah, I can make you a logo. It'll take 2 weeks. It's $200, right? And then 2 weeks later, I basically give them a logo that's a square with a couple letters in it. And to that person, they go, oh, wow, that's great. That must have been a lot of work. Well, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It's like anything. People get scammed all the time, which I don't like, but it's the case. And so that's where you have to be careful about that stuff. That's why, services like Fiverr and that type of thing, where people are doing work inexpensively. I'm not going to say that it's always a scam. It's absolutely not. But you have to be really careful with that stuff. And that's not me telling you, if you were thinking of getting a logo, that you should go spend $5,000 on one. No, I'm not saying that either. But, and actually, this is a general statement for anything. If you are going to commission somebody, and this can be visual art, this can be music, this can be writing, this can be whatever thing where you have somebody else that is creating something for you, that process in almost every case, almost, I won't say every case, but almost every case, in almost every case, that project, whatever's being done, it should be a collaboration. It should be that the person that's doing this work for you is checking in with you and making sure that what they're doing is what you want and kind of agreeing on a direction. To a degree, there has to be space there too. You don't want to be somebody who micromanages a creator. Part of the creative process is you trust that person to deliver what they say they're going to. But you should be aware of what's going on, and if something doesn't look right or doesn't sound right or whatever, you shouldn't feel like you are unable to say something. You know, one of the things that I'll say about a lot of stuff like that, because I do that kind of little work here and there, generally for free. It's usually very small stuff that I'm not going to charge anybody for, because it's just simple stuff. And so I'll send something to somebody and I'll say, by the way, I have no ego or attachment about this, so if you hate it and you need a change, just tell me and we'll change it all, and I don't care. Like, I'll say that very, very clearly up front so that the person understands that I'm not going to take it personally if they don't like something. And I don't. That was kind of my approach. I think I've talked about this, but not again for a long time. This was how I was with the Magic cards too. There was a point with specifically with the Sheoldred card. And this was not me not having an appreciation of how popular the character was. Obviously, they knew, because they knew what they wanted for that character. But there was a point where the art director came back and said, yeah, the colors for this are all wrong. We need them to be darker. And then I made them darker, and the art director came back and said, no, darker. Like almost black darker. Now, in my head, I thought, well, if they're that dark, you're not going to really see the details of the armor. Right? That was my personal reaction to it. But this was a paid piece of work for a corporate client. And so my response wasn't, well, I think it would look better if we look, nothing like, no. My response was, you got it. And that armor got changed till, if you look at the card, it's almost black. The original color of that armor, just as a bit of trivia, it was basically like bone colored. It was bone because I really wanted to show off the segments of the armor and kind of some of the detail stuff, but that wasn't the style of the character. And Sheoldred, the stuff, the material I was sent that showed Sheoldred. There's something I'm trying to say 5 times fast. The artwork that showed Sheoldred. I can't do it. It was so variable because Sheoldred's been reinterpreted by many artists over the years, but they had an idea of what they wanted this iteration to look like. And it was partially because there were other artists who were doing Sheoldred work too, so they wanted everything to have a cohesiveness. And so that's where I went, okay, if that's what you want, then that's what you're going to get. And I didn't, like I said, in my head, if I was somebody who was making this purely the way I wanted to see it, I would have made the armor bone colored. I thought the idea of the organic kind of bone coloring went with Sheoldred's whole overall character. But that wasn't what the style and what the general character design they wanted for this point in time was. So I went, yep, you're the boss. You're paying the money. So in the end, it has to look the way you want it to look. Meaning that the client. That's how you have to look at it. And so, like I said, I don't bring any ego to, I've only done it once, but that was a very easy thing where I have my initial instinctual reaction was, I don't know if it looks better like that, but that was immediately followed with, well, it doesn't matter what I think, it matters what they think, and this is what they want. They paid the money, they get what they want. That's how it has to be. And I'm not going to say I was unhappy with the way it turned out. A lot of people like it. So from the response I've gotten on it, they obviously knew what they were talking about because most people like that darker armor. I've had a couple people who've done commissions and I've shown them, oh, by the way, here's an alternate version with a different color scheme, just in case, if you want that instead, because I happen to like this. And I'll tell you, not a single person has opted for it. So clearly, my opinion on the coloring is in the minority, or at least it is in the minority because, like I said, not a single person who's paid for a card, and I've done 50 plus of them by now, Not a single person has said, oh yeah, I want that bone colored version you did. Nobody. So, like I said, they obviously chose correctly, and people agree with them, which is fine with me because it is in the end their image. You know, that's one of the things, and you know, for anybody who might be listening, that you know is thinking of doing like commissioned work, there is of course I don't say a risk to that, but there is the possibility that somebody's going to make you that somebody's going to want you to create something that to your eye looks horrible, and you know what? Can't worry about it. I mean, outside of stuff where you outright have to refuse. You know, if somebody said, "Oh, I want you to draw me a flattering picture of Hitler," I'd be like, "Nah, I'm not your person for that. Nope, go find somebody else. I'm not drawing you a flattering picture of Hitler. It's not going to happen. No thanks." You know, so that stuff, yeah, that you just don't take it at all. If it's something that's going to, you know, is actually personally offensive to you, you don't take it on at all. But short of an example like that, which has never happened to me, I can't pretend that anybody's ever said, hey, would you like to draw a picture of Hitler? No, that's never happened. I'm using that as an extreme example to say that's when you would want to come back and say, yeah, I'm not interested in that at all. Thanks. But no. And you know, you should always, unfortunately, some people, depending on the economic situation, might not be able to refuse something like that. I'm fortunate I can. I don't rely on my art for my ability to have a roof over my head. If I did, would it be tougher for me to be selective about projects? It probably would. I would hope that I would always stick to my principles on that, but you know, if you have to pay the rent and stuff like that, then you do whatever. And I know people who've taken on assignments they weren't necessarily thrilled with because that was the only way that they were going to survive to the next month. Then you do what you have to. But if you have the ability to refuse and something is just offensive to you or you have any bad feeling about it, then turn it down. Nothing says you have to take every job. And there's no generally what I have found to be true is that there's nobody really keeping track of how many things you've done. Because I think there's that. I think some people, I feel like I've talked to some people who've said something along the lines of, well, I'll take anything anybody ever asks me to do, even if it's, you know, for lesser pay, because I need to keep building up a body of work so people see that I keep working. And I sort of understand where that comes from, depending on the industry you're in. For example, like comic books. If you want to be a comic illustrator, then yeah, you want to be able to demonstrate that you can do anything as quickly as possible and just keep working, because that's what they want out of most comic creators, unless you're somebody exceptional like, say, Art Adams, who does such intense detail work that generally he's not doing nearly as many pages in terms of raw output as some other artists who are doing far less detailed work. Then that's a special circumstance. But I know other people who just automatically assume that if you're not cranking out an image or an illustration regularly, then you're going to be seen as not being as good or something. And I don't think that's true at all. I think if somebody likes your work, they like your work, whether you're producing one image a year or 100. It's kind of like my same attitude with Patreon support. I think a lot of Patreon creators, they panic if, you know, let's say something in their life happens and they get delayed, and so they've been putting out one thing a month for however long, and now for whatever reason they have to skip a month, and they get very anxious about it and think, oh no, people, you know, and basically people are going to tell me that I'm taking their money and not producing anything. It's like, well, no, that's different. That's not generally most people, I don't think, are supporting individuals on Patreon because they expect it to be like a certain schedule to be held all the time. You know, at least not with such regularity that one or two deviations, as long as there's a little bit of communication about it, they're not going to suddenly bail on you. Because there are people creators that I support who've put out videos saying, yeah, I was trying to maintain this pace and it's just burning me out and I really don't know if I can do it and I'm really sorry about that. And it's like, people will wait. It's pretty clear to most people, the creators who are people of integrity and who aren't, you know, it's people are better at sensing that than I think sometimes others give them credit for. You can tell when somebody's just collecting money and not doing anything. It's pretty clear. Or if somebody is trying to figure out a format or is changing what they're doing and all that stuff, I think most people are patient about. Like I said, as long as there's clear communication about it, which most of the good creators are very good at communicating. So see, it all kind of starts to interlock together, and you start to figure out, well, if somebody's good at communication, then generally they're probably people who are producing the content that they want to create. And so if for some reason there's a gap or a slight delay, there's probably a good reason for it, as opposed to somebody who just doesn't put anything out, doesn't say anything about it, but continues to collect the money. Well, that train's only going to go so far on the track before it derails pretty hard. So yeah, that's one of those things. I see a lot of people who talk about they have this kind of invisible push to keep making stuff because there's money involved. And again, you know, there are creators who I support who don't put videos out very often at all, but when they put them out, they're great. So I don't care about that. That's fine. You know, take the time that you need to make the stuff you want to make. If it becomes just a misery factory-driven or factory mindset to drive the stuff out, it's not going to last. It's not going to be good for long. Might be in the short term, but you know, nobody's going to labor under those conditions for long and make stuff of quality. Eventually, you're going to start to see it seep in. There is an intangible thing. I know, very, very descriptive of me. I paint with words. There's this sense that I think most people pick up, and they can tell if somebody seems to be happy with what they're doing. And if they're not, I think people pick that up too. And they're not going to want to stick with stuff where they can kind of feel that the person isn't really 100% into it. Even if they are creating something that appears flawless and is made with a high level of apparent quality, if you can't tell that somebody is excited about what they're doing, you're not going to stick with it. Because in the back of your head, you think they're not going to stick with it. Like people can sense that stuff. We tend to underestimate our ability to detect that type of thing in people, and I think by and large, I think most people are far better at it than they think. I was watching something recently, a talk by, I'll be vague about this just because, you know, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but I was watching a talk by a actor who was kind of discussing different things, and this was at some kind of public forum. I don't know what it was. So basically it was, you know, about a 50-minute or so thing. And in the beginning, there was a whole intro, as there typically are with these. You know, so that the place that was hosting this person, oh, you know, this is this person's career, and they were doing a summary, and it was going on and on and on for a while. And finally, they actually got around to, you know, something like 10 minutes in, they finally brought the person out. A very, very long set of intros. But, you know, blah, blah, blah. And the person comes out, and they say, oh, it's great to be here. It's truly a thrill to be at this place, and they named the place. And you could so tell that particular part of this was something that they say every single place they go. It didn't feel sincere. It didn't feel like the person really cared about what they were saying at that particular moment. Like, it was very, very obvious. I think most people would pick that up. Then once this person was talking for a while and was getting into kind of their life experiences and the way that they look at the world and everything, that stuff was all great, because again, you could see the sincerity picked way up, because now this person was talking about something that they were interested in. And then, you know, like I said, it was about a 50-minute talk or so, and it got to the end, and they kind of wrapped up, and then the person said, I don't remember how they phrased it, but basically, again, reiterated, oh, it was great to be here. Thanks very much for having me. And again, the whole tone of how this person's voice sounded changed. And you could tell that, once again, it was like falling back into something that they know they have to say. Oh, it's been a true pleasure to be here among all you people and get to talk. Like, it was just something that they know they have to say every place they go, because it's expected that they will say it. Not to say I don't think the person had a good time, because there were definitely moments during the talk where this person was very animated and was talking, and I think those parts they liked. But I think it's the obligatory stuff where it's like, okay, now I have to thank everybody again, you know, and that I think that's where it's like you could just sort of sense the shift, that this person went back to something that they've said a variation of 100 times, and the only thing that's ever changed is the name of the place that they were at. That's it. Otherwise, every place this person is, and I didn't go and look because I don't care enough, but I would be curious if I went and saw, if I looked at other places this person had been speaking around the same time, was the intro and outro kind of phrasing identical? And I would bet money that it was. I would bet money that the person said the same thing. Whoa, wait a minute. Did that not mirror? It didn't? Look at that. There's a part that didn't mirror. Oh, let me fix that. Jeez, didn't notice it before. Oh, I must not have turned the mirroring on right away. Or something, because this should all be the same. Well, that's okay. We'll just do this. I'll just follow that along. Make sure that's there. Yep, there it is. Okay, it's actually over here. See that? That got missed somehow. Huh, interesting. Oh, let's see. Negotiation. Oh, jeez. There we go. Well, here's a dope that I'm going to get rid of really quick. Let's see. How do I get rid of this person? Let's see. People are so stupid. It's unbelievable. Let's see. That is here. Can I block this person? Resize. Where is the block thing for this? Do I not have the ability to block this person? Oh, weird. I thought there was a way for me to remove that. But it doesn't look like I can. Huh. It's really weird. Yeah, that's strange. I thought I was able to block messages like that. But it does not appear that I can, at least from here. No, let's... wait. Oh, wait a minute. Shield mode. Whoa! Wow. What did that do? Oh, chat was cleared by a moderator. Okay, turn the shield mode off. What is that? Whoa, whoa, whoa. No, turn it back off. How do I turn it back off? Not that I really care, but where is it? Where did it? Jeez, just opened this huge window on me. How do I turn it back off? Show moderation actions, show mod icons. Oh, sure, you can show mod icons. Ah, there it is. Delete. Delete message. Unable to delete message. To manage shield. Oh, I guess I can't turn it back off. Well, whatever. It's staying on for the rest of this. Nobody's really saying anything anyway, but I don't want some idiot, you know, advertising that crap in here. So I don't know why I can't get rid of it. Chat paused. Oh, I didn't mean to. Oh, I banned them. Oh, good. All right. Well, now I know how to do it. I just wasn't showing the moderation tools. That's fine. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Why is it still on the screen? How do I get rid of this? Delete message. There we go. Oh, I could have done that. Well, that's okay. I mean, I'm only going to be streaming for a little while longer anyway, so it's not a huge deal. Anyhow. Oh, I think my screen froze. Hold on, everybody. Let me fix that. I think doing that made my screen freeze, so let me just reconnect this. Just a minute. Wait for it to come back. Oh yeah, wow, it hosed that. Man, Reflector crashed hard. Wow. That hasn't happened in a long time. Man. Quit. Hold on, there it goes. All right, let's see if we can get it back. If I can't, well, then this stream's going to end really, really soon. Or, not really. I still got the stream for about as much as... I want to stream for about an hour. I'm at 50 minutes, so it's not that big a deal. Let's see if this comes back. I don't know what exactly... Well, it couldn't have frozen that long ago because the green's on, so it wasn't that far back, but let's see. I don't know if the shield mode or whatever I did there scrammed it. It may have. Wow. Well, that could be it, everybody, because Reflector is just bouncing. It's not doing anything. Let me go into the utilities folder and the activity monitor. And let's see if we can crash it or stop it from there, because man, it's really still live, so I know that's working. Where's, I thought I saw reflector. Cursor something. Cursor view service not responding. Okay, I don't know what that means. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot I have this sorted by what's using what. Let's go here. Process name, there we are. So let's take a look. Reflector, routine. Oh, is reflector not called reflector? Interesting. Let me see what this is. Is this what's stopping it? This could kill everything, so just so you know, I'm gonna try this. Okay, no, it didn't crash everything. But there's a good chance this is it, because reflector is simply stuck. And I don't know what else to call it. It just will not go away. It's just sitting there bouncing. Well, you know what, everybody? Whatever. I almost got to an hour. Sometimes these things happen. I haven't had a reflector crash in quite a while, so I can't really complain. It's been pretty good lately. So, on that note, I want to thank everybody for coming by. Except for that. Oh, wait. Tell me this is going to work. Is this really going to work now? Hold on. That would be... It finally stopped bouncing. Hold on. Is it going to now work? It stopped bouncing, but it's still not working. Okay, so no, it's not working. So anyway, besides that spammer who came in trying to sell whatever they were trying to sell, outside of that, thank you for stopping by and hanging out on the stream this evening. Sorry that Reflector crashed, but that's okay. Like I said, we were pretty close to the end anyway. I feel like I got a good amount of time, and Reflector has not flipped out on. Wait a minute, did I? Hold on, I just want to check something. No, that's the other side. So no, that's definitely, yeah. For some reason, some of this stuff didn't. I missed a couple of spots on this. So yeah, I can't really complain. Reflector has been pretty. Yeah, thank you. I understand you can't connect. It finally popped up on the iPad and said, "Hey, I can't connect anymore." Yes, thank you. I'm aware. But like I said, Reflector's been pretty good. Everything has been pretty good. There's been some. The social stream thing is more baffling, but it still worked, just weirdly. But by and large, everything has been pretty good. So I can't really. I'm certainly not having the level of problems that I was before now. If you were here for the earlier streams, you will probably very well remember that I was having no shortage of weird crashes and black screens and everything else. And that seems, I have to say that, because the minute I make it a statement as opposed to, or oh, I'm sure this is fixed, that is the kiss of death. So I'm not going to do that. But everything so far has been relatively stable. So we're just going to assume that that's how it's going to be. So anyway, thank you for being here and hanging out for a bit with me as I'm working on my brain here. Brain illustration and brain, of course, because this stuff's good for you too. Creativity stimulates the brain. So I'm working on 2 brains, technically. So as I always say, go find somebody else who's being creative and hang out with them. Support creators that you enjoy. I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about others. There are lots of creators out there who are trying to make a living at being creative, and it is not easy. And I guarantee that your support would be important to them, and they would be very appreciative of it. So in whatever way you can, it does not have to necessarily be money. I say that every time too. Having a nice word to say about somebody's work, reposting it, just appreciating it, following them even at a free level like on a Patreon or something. I guarantee you those people are going to appreciate it. So whatever you can do to support creators, they need your help, many of them. So give them what help you can, because it is very, very easy to take creators for granted and just think that they're going to be around. And some will be, but others, you just don't know. So your help can be the thing that might keep them going on what they're doing. Man, there's no feeling like that. So if you have a creator like that and they seem to need some help, try to help them out when you can. And they'll be appreciative, and you'll get more of the stuff that you like from them. So everybody wins. On that note, thanks for being here, and until the next Sream, I was combining stream and time right there. Until the